our third guest on the show is Miss Toni Love, the president of our BDPA St. Louis chapter. Toni, are you online with us?
Yes, I am.
Well, that is outstanding. Toni, for those that are in the audience who have not had the pleasure and the honor of talking with her, she has been a BDPA member for over 20 years. She has been serving as our chapter president in Missouri, in the St. Louis area, since 2009. Under her leadership, the chapter has been very active with increased program meetings that occur on a regular basis. One of her featured program meetings is a chat with the CIO, where members are able to talk with Chief Information Officer from major corporations in the area. They have some outstanding youth education programs, banquets to honor their members and students, and the team from St. Louis has been performing extremely well on a national level at recent National Computer Competition Championships. And so with that, Toni, it's a pleasure to have you on BDPA iRadio. Why don't you tell us what attracted you to BDPA and why do you stay so active over so many years?
Well, Wayne, first I just want to say I'm so excited because in the course of this Blog Talk Radio program, I just got my first follower on my Twitter account, so I'm excited about that. But I first went to I have one follower, I think.
Well, now that you've done that, you might as well tell the folks tell them what your Twitter tag is so that others can join it with that first one. What's your Twitter tag that you want them to reach out to you on?
At TLoveBlessed. That's TLoveBlesd.
There you go. So go ahead. What's gotten you attracted to BDPA, and what keeps you involved, other than the occasional Twitter follower?
Well, my first conference was in Washington, D.C. in 1990, and I was very impressed with the professionalism of the members of the organization. I was a recent graduate and new in the information technology field, and just seeing the professional people, the African Americans that were in upper-level management in the IT field, just really impressed me. And that's really what keeps me pretty much involved now, is just the opportunity to network and engage with other professionals who are on the top of their game. Just the interaction just inspires me to constantly better myself and push myself to the next level.
That is outstanding. And so that was your first conference experience, and I'm assuming that you've been to a number of conferences since then?
Yes, many more, and every time I go, I'm more and more impressed. To see students on the high school level, to see college students, to see entry-level IT professionals all the way up to CIOs all interact. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And it's just, I encourage, if anyone has not been to a national conference, I really encourage you to go, because it will give you a boost to push yourself to the next level.
And I understand that the 2012 National BDPA Conference will be in Baltimore, Maryland.
Yes, and I do plan to attend, along with my high school computer competition team, who will take first place in Baltimore.
The Wolf tickets are beginning to be sold already. Now, your team, unlike maybe a lot of others, your team actually has, over the past few years, has really begun to show tremendous improvement. What do you attribute that recent success to? That they have finished up in the top 4 or 5, won scholarships because of their performance at the National HSCC or High School Computer Competition Championship. What do you attribute that success to over the last few years?
Well, we have developed a strategy of working with Monsanto to train our students, and we've been able to have sites all over the St. Louis area that just gives us a greater pool of students, and we have attracted some very good students and that are dedicated to learning about IT, and we have some very good trainers out of Monsanto that are willing to work with our students, as well as our site trainers that are giving up their time in the evening and on weekends to really work with the students and really get them up to par for the competition.
Now, when will that, in your chapter, as a chapter that has seen success, when does that start? When do you actually, you're planning on participating, you said you're planning on winning the 2012 National Championship. When will that actually begin, the training in St. Louis?
We will officially start our training in January.
Okay. And then you will, how many students are you hopeful to be able to work with on each Saturday?
Well, generally we have about, at all the different sites, we'd have about 20 to 30 students to start out with. Then we have a regional competition, well, a St. Louis area competition, not a regional competition, a local area competition, and then we weed down to about 10 students. And at that point, we go into intensive training at the Monsanto location, and we weed further down to our 5. So we have a good pool of students.
And at the Monsanto location, Monsanto, for those that don't know, is one of the Fortune 100 companies in the country. They're a very large company, a very large firm. They provide you with instructors, I understand, for the class from their IT professionals, and then when you get down to that final training, they also provide you with access to a computer room. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, actually, we are blessed to have a partnership also with Microsoft. One of our partner chapters, the Central Illinois chapter, under the leadership of Sandula, donated laptops for us last year for our students, and Microsoft provided the software. And we just take our laptops into a conference room at Monsanto, and our students train there every week once we get down to the intensive training.
That is fantastic. Now, what would cause a lot of chapters and struggle sometimes with making those relationships, those connections, as our first guests would call them, with corporations such as Monsanto. What's in it for Monsanto? Why is it that they've said that we're going to support BDPA St. Louis chapter in such a manner with our own employees getting involved with the organization, with our facilities, if that's what's necessary? What do you think is the selling point or the connection, the hot button for Monsanto in the case of your chapter?
Well, as you know, Monsanto, as well as many corporations now, are very focused on community involvement, especially as it relates to diversity. So for Monsanto to be able to say that they are our main sponsor of our high school students, and BDPA in particular, that gives them a big boost in their diversity reach.
That makes a lot of sense. You have been a chapter president since 2009. I hear that you are going to be the chapter president again in calendar year 2012. That's correct?
Well, that's still up for grabs yet, Wayne. I'm trying to recruit someone to carry the torch, but if I don't, yes, I will be.
And even if you are not, you would still be actively engaged as the immediate past president. What I'm wondering is, as you think about the things that have been successful, you talked about the youth program. What are the things that you hope that your chapter does provide value for IT professionals or entrepreneurs? For the adult IT person in the St. Louis area, how are you hoping that your chapter can provide value to that audience?
Well, my goal for the St. Louis chapter, and you are right, whether I'm president or not, I've always been very active in the chapter in St. Louis, and particularly behind the scenes. So I will continue to be active. But what my goal is for the St. Louis chapter, especially the adult members, is for us to be the knowledge base for our chapter members. So when I'm on my job and I have a problem that I can't get solved, I can go to my BDPA chapter and post a question and get an answer, because I've found that other minorities as well as majority members are able to do that, and that makes them more valuable as a result of that networking.
That is outstanding. That willingness to share amongst the membership that we can help others to be successful with the knowledge that we have. Now that's something that people always talk about that, but that's really hard to do. It's really hard to make it happen, or to it's almost developing a culture of networking, a culture of sharing and creating connections. That's what you're hoping to do. Have you seen any ways that any suggestions on how that will be implemented, or how it will be something that will become part of the culture of BDPA in St. Louis?
Well, I've seen it manifested to a degree on the national level, where there have been occasions where I've had a question and I've posted something to the BDPA site or emailed someone that I met from BDPA and said, this is a problem I'm having. Have you ever had this problem? And I've been able to get suggestions on how to handle that problem or how to solve that problem. So I'm hoping that we can develop that type of network here in St. Louis to a larger degree.
That would be wonderful. I have seen, April, over the past year, I've watched you work with your employer to get support for things like a banquet that your chapter had last year, and so and you've been able to attend a number of conferences. I'm wondering if you have any advice for BDPA, members, for the audience that's listening, if they want their employer to support them with BDPA. Do you have any best practices or ideas or advice on how they can make that happen?
Yeah, for instance, you mentioned that we have our Meet the CIO event. I have this coming meeting will be my CIO as the guest speaker. So when you can have programs and invite your CIO or your upper-level management to participate in those meetings, I think that brings exposure to BDPA and lets them know your involvement, and then they will then want to be a part of that organization as well.
That is a good idea, and you never know if you don't ask. So if you don't make the request, you'll never know. Now that the idea of having did you call it Meet the CIO? Is that the nomenclature that you use in St. Louis for that type of a meeting?
Yes, we call it Meet the CIO.
Now that's a wonderful idea, because for a lot of BDPA members who might be individual contributors or might not ordinarily interact with C-level executives, that really is a tremendous opportunity to meet that executive, on an evening at a program session hosted by the BDPA chapter. How has that worked out for your chapter? Have you had good feedback on that over the past few meetings, the past few of those Meet the CIO sessions?
Wayne, that has been one of our top member events. We get a lot of involvement when we have those meetings, and we found that it has turned out to be really not only beneficial for our members, but beneficial to the CIO that's a part of the meeting, because they get to engage with our members on a more intimate level than they would in a lecture series or in any other type of environment. So they are excited to meet with us. We sit down. It's usually just an intimate chat. We get to ask them questions. They get to ask us questions. And so there's a mutual feedback that we get to learn things as well as they get to learn more about us as a group and individually. And so later on, if someone may want to be employed for that CIO, they have that connection that they would normally have had it not been for that meeting. That
high-touch connection, as we learned earlier, huh?
Right, exactly.
That is wonderful. We're down to the final part of the show and the final part of our opportunity to talk with you, Toni. I'm wondering if you had any final thoughts that you'd want to share with the audience about BDPA, about the industry, any final thoughts you would like to share?
I really encourage everyone to become a part of BDPA. If you're not already a member, I suggest that you join. And think of ways that you, as well as your organization, can help the community. For example, Crisis Commons is an organization that's set up to think of ways to help mobilize and become and get computer efficiency in times of crisis. I think that's a great opportunity for us as a BDPA organization to be a part of. So I think there's so many ways that we can impact our community and our youth being a part of BDPA, and we just need people to come in, join, and really get passionate about how we can touch lives.
That is outstanding. Toni, it has been truly a pleasure to be able to speak with you tonight. I am sure that our audience, both those that are listening live and those that will be listening to this archive in the days and weeks ahead, have really had the opportunity to get some great best practice ideas and some great motivational thoughts from you as a leader in BDPA for the past 20 years and a chapter president for the past 3 years. It truly has been a pleasure, and we want to thank you, Toni, for being a part of BDPA iRadio show.
Well, thank you. I've been honored to be a guest, Wayne, and, of course, you are one of those people who have helped to push me to the next level, and I thank you for including me this evening.